Hi everyone, this is Faye here from Twilight Crafts, and I'm here to talk you through a process video using Vicki Boutin's Artful Moments collection. So I decided to create a mixed media background for the start of this layout and chose some distress oxides that matched the 5 paint brushes, the ephemera pieces that you can see at the top of the screen. So I started using mustard seed, then blending some spiced marmalade down into worn lipstick, and then lucky clover, and finally into chipped sapphire. Now I'm using my magnetic glass craft mat. I absolutely love this, and you can see there are some purple magnets there that stick really strongly to the glass mat and hold the stencil in place. So that means I'm hands-free. I can then start to blend the inks down, and this is a 12 by 12 teardrop stencil. So you can see I'm just starting to add the chipped sapphire down at the bottom of the layout, and this stencil isn't quite big enough to fill the whole 12 by 12 white cardstock. So I just move the stencil around and I just start to pick some of those teardrops, some of the water splashes to fill in some of the gaps, and I'm doing that along the bottom of the layout, and I also do that on the right hand side as well. So once I have filled the white cardstock with the rainbow of inks, I then go back in with the ink splat stencil. So this is a Jenny Wren stencil. This comes with the Twilight Kit Club monthly kit, and this month is Artful Moments. So I start to do some tone on tone ink splats just to add across the layout, because I'm going to lay those paintbrushes across, and I thought the ink splats looked pretty cool just running across horizontally. So to add a little bit more texture, I'm just using a bleaching technique. So this is a water spray, and I just drip that straight onto the oxides, and then I lift off with some kitchen roll. And I'm back in now with another stencil. So I've laid the teardrop stencil back over in place, and then I'm using this Caramel Studio stencil to just go in and add some smaller textures through the stencil. So this is a 2 stencil technique. Again, I'm sticking with the tone on tone, so I'm using the same colour ink through the teardrop stencil and then adding some additional texture onto those teardrops. And then once I'm happy with those textures, you can see I'm just going back to add a little bit more mustard seed at the top there. You need to be careful not to let your colours mix and bleed. So you can see I'm using different parts of the stencil and making sure I'm using baby wipes just to clean off the stencil each time so that the colours stay clean and don't mix. Now this is completely personal preference. I like to trim some of those white edges off the ephemera. The laser cuts don't come with white edges, which I love, but for the ephemera pieces I just tend to trim those white edges. And here in the centre of the layout I'm adding a block of colour. So I'm sticking with those same 5 coloured inks, and I'm just creating a block of colour right down the middle, because I've got an idea to use some of the rainbow striped paper. Now the rainbow striped paper comes from the Artful Moments 12 by 12 patterned paper pad, and so I decided to add a block of colour right down the centre of the layout to be able to lay that stripy rainbow piece down. And you can see here I'm using a little bit more of a bleaching technique. It's all about adding lots of textures, lifting off some colour, adding more stenciling, just to create lots of interest, lots of texture, and most of this, I have to say, will be covered up by that rainbow stripe paper, but it's just real fun in creating, really, and using your inks, experimenting, playing, and basically having lots of fun. So you can see here I'm dabbing off some of that excess ink, and it leaves that lovely bleached watermark effect.
Robin, if you haven't been using them.
So I started to add some hexagon stenciling on the top here, tone on tone. I have to say it didn't really show up quite as well as I wanted it to, so it just added a little bit more interest, but honestly this extra stenciling, it didn't really show up. And you can see here I'm starting to play around with some of the embellishments and thinking about the positioning of everything, but I decided to break up that block of colour with this beautiful rainbow striped piece from the Artful Moments paper pad. So this paper pad has different patterned cardstock to the collection pack and different cardstock to the single paper sheet. So it's if you've got this paper pad, it's wonderful. There's some lovely additional papers in this pad. So I'm tearing here, I'm making sure I go against the grain of the paper so that I get a white edge, and I'm just testing the width against that inky block of colour, tearing a little bit more off here just to even it up a little bit, and then placing it down, and you can see the colourway matches beautifully the inky background. Now the reverse of this stripy rainbow paper also has these beautiful butterflies, so I fussy cut some of these butterflies out, and then I'm starting to lay them onto the layout again, matching the yellows, the oranges, the pinks, the greens and the blues. And as I assemble the layout, I love to use foam pads. It adds a bit of dimension, but also the foam pads enable you to have space to tuck things under if you need to lift things up. And you can see here I'm even adding foam to the back of this centerpiece. Really easy to peel the little backs of the foam paper off, and you can see here I started to put it upside down and I spotted that it was the wrong way just before I stuck it down. So you can see I've started with the blues and the purples at the bottom, and I wanted those stripes to go all the way up to the yellow. So here I've chosen some of the laser cuts. So this is from the Artful Moments laser cuts pack, and these beautiful delicate little colour wheels here I'm tucking under. I chose 2 titles. Now the titles are from the ephemera pack, so you've got 2 titles, Being Creative, and then the Colour Me Happy title just sits inside that, and you can see the paintbrushes on the left are all added on foam. And then I am using my little glue press here to stick the butterflies down. I only put a little bit of glue in the centre of each butterfly so that the wings lift up. And then finally, just for a little bit of extra detail, I stenciled some of these little teardrops and added those on foam. So thanks for joining me, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this layout, and happy crafting, everyone.